Okay, inflation part 7, Russia. I've tried to re-record this video several times, but I realized that there are a lot of other people who make this point far better than I ever can, so I'm going to give you a few recommendations off the bat. First, if you want to understand the Russian mindset, there's a video of that title by a channel called Caspian Report, who I recommend that you follow. Peter Zeihan stuff is always good on this topic. And if you want to understand the recent fuel oil export ban that Russia had in place, Joe Blogs has a number of titles on that discussing what's been going on with that, what's been going on with the ruble, which really opens up why the line that the sanctions aren't working is not entirely accurate. The primary thing I want to focus on is the main vehicle for which Russia has been trying to get around the sanctions. They primarily want to ship to markets in China, India, and Saudi Arabia. The last one because Saudi Arabia would really like to replace its domestic stores with cheap Russian crude as opposed to reserving its own. Pipeline infrastructure to China is not great, and it's fed by the eastern oil fields, which are technically complex to the extent that they require Western firms to operate them, and those Western firms pulled out relatively early in the war without anyone asking them to, which really leaves the port of Novorossiysk. Now, last winter, Russia made a habit of going after Ukrainian energy by essentially trying to flood it with missiles. And earlier this year, they revoked their involvement in the grain deal, at which point Ukraine declared that anything in the Black Sea is, to them, fair game if it's going into or out of Russian ports. Ukraine has already signaled that if Russia strikes at its power plants again, that they will retaliate, and I think this is where they will do it. They've already demonstrated the ability to hit the port of Novorossiysk, and if they can do that in a sustained fashion, or at least enough to make people think twice before going into the Black Sea in the first place, that is going to be a significant crimp on exports. That is the short term. In the long term, if you take a look at some of those resources, especially the first one that I mentioned, it's pretty clear that this is going to be going on for a long time, and that's important because Russia has historically been a huge supplier of oil to the global market, meaning that we should expect to be we should not expect the shortage imposed by that to be a temporary thing. We should certainly expect that the Russian space is going to be off the market for quite some time. That was the overall takeaway from this video. We'll get into U.S. production in the next one.